I can't stop grinning. I genuinely can't stop grinning after what I've seen in the last 45 to 50 minutes of play. The game was almost, it seemed like it was headed towards a draw, a 167 run opening partnership between Shafali Verma and Smriti Mandhana. And then that phase where India lost 5 wickets for just 20 runs to be placed 209 runs behind England's score of 396 and to be placed at 187 for 5. Who would have thought after a 167 run opening partnership? It almost seems like it's day one when England bossed the game, and then towards the end, India did with the ball, almost like letting out a cat amongst the pigeons. Welcome to the Outside View Live. I have with me Tirush Kamini as well as Ananya Upendran. We'll try and make sense of what we just witnessed. Ananya, let's start with you. 5 for 20 in that last 45 odd minutes. The thoughts on how that end panned out?
Yeah, it was just chaos, wasn't it? I mean, when Shafali Verma and Smriti Mandhana were batting, you just wondered where the next wicket was coming from how England would get a wicket, because it looked like there was absolutely nothing in the surface. There's no pace in it, so the seamers aren't generating any carry. The bouncers are barely hip height, so it just looked like where are they going to find the wicket from? But once Shafali Verma got out, I've kind of felt like, okay, maybe England have sensed an opening here. And then I think Smriti Mandhana, very uncharacteristic shot. Again, I think it was the drying up of runs from the other end. She probably got used to seeing the scoreboard constantly moving when Shafali was there. And it was just chaotic. Like, what happened in those last 45 minutes or half an hour even? I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around it, but it was just chaos.
Yeah, as I said, it was almost like setting a cat amongst the pigeons. Let's have a look at that England bowling card, because that has to be the focal point at this point of time. Because look at that figures: Heather Knight, 6 overs, 5 maidens, 1 run and 2 wickets, and then Sophia also chipping in with one. Kate Cross, of course, providing the breakthrough, and then Natalie Stewart also cashing in with Smriti Mandhana's wicket. But Trish, that dying moments of the day's play has something in it, isn't it? It's almost like all the spice in the day's play is in that half an hour or 1 hour towards the end of day. So your thoughts on how that ending panned out? Not really good as far as India is concerned.
I must agree with what Ananya has said. It really didn't go in India's favor. To be very honest, I felt when Smriti and Shafali were batting, it felt like they had already given up the game. Like England bowlers didn't have much to do, and it felt like they were just going through the motion. So when they just had an opening of Shafali's wicket, and that kind of set the momentum that they wanted, and I personally felt like probably the one after the other, it kind of created a panic in the dressing room. One wicket. I mean, when Shikha fell, immediately we had Mithali Dee who was coming in, and then her wicket kind of created a big panic, I must say.
Yeah, indeed. Let's look at that batting scorecard, and it's not a favorable figure except the top part, because 78 from Smriti Mandhana, 96 from Shafali Verma. We'll get to the good bats later. But after that, it's just single digits: 2 runs for Poonam, none for Shikha, Mithali going out for 2, and 4 not out, and 0 not out for Harman and Deepti. And then did it almost seem to you as if the new batters walking in, almost seem to walk out as if they are the set batters? Because we saw that the track was almost docile, but it probably wasn't as docile as Smriti and Shafali made it seem.
Well, I think, even if you looked at the way Smriti and Shafali started their innings, they were quite slow to start off. They did take their time, played out quite a few maidens at the start, and got used to the pace of the track. I think, the issue, at least with Shikha's dismissal, is that she was trying to drive a delivery very, very early on, not something that we saw either Shafali or Smriti do early on. So that probably led to her dismissal. It was a very, very slow track. The ball wasn't coming on. I think Shafali later on, once she got settled in, made it look like it was coming on, but I don't think there was any pace in the track. The batters really had to create all the force. So I think that it meant that starting on that kind of track was very, very difficult, and the middle order really found that out. And I think the other thing was, how many of them were actually ready to bat. I'm sure Shikha Pandey was, because she was the designated night watchman or night watch person. I don't know what the term is. But yeah, she may have been ready. But then the others just seemed very, very rushed. They came in kind of uncertain and then got out within like 5 or 6 deliveries. So yeah, it was just chaotic those last 15-20 minutes, and it really, really hurt India.
In hindsight, would it have been better for Mithali to walk in at 4 instead of sending a night watch person in, Shikha Pandey?
Look, I'm pretty sure at the start of the game, they must have told Shikha that you are the designated night watch person, because she was sitting next to Poonam Rao throughout that last session. She did have her pads with her. So clearly she was told that she was going in maybe 20 minutes to the close of play. It didn't work out, unfortunately. It did work out in the previous test match that they played in England. I think she just kind of probably didn't read the surface as well as she should have. But in hindsight, maybe Mithali Raj should have walked out, but I guess India just wanted to save her for the next morning.
Tirush, how hard is it for the middle order and in fact the number 3, number 4 batters to kind of sit in the dugout, given the enormity of the opening partnership? How tough is it to be a middle order batter at that point?
I mean, this we've seen over the years. I mean, when you have kind of, like you mentioned, when you have a very long partnership, and especially the kind of solidity Shafali and Smriti were able to give in the initial few overs, and the way they were playing and executing the shots, the dominance that they were able to show, that kind of eases out your whole mindset in the dressing room. Even when you're not really sure, when you're going to bat. Imagine if you're playing a one-day limited over format. At some point, okay, yeah, we are going to get to bat. You're ready for it. But here, you're not really sure. I mean, when you're going to get to bat. So that must have something really played in the minds of batters who are coming in, and especially when you had a batter like Shikha. I mean, the night watchman who was supposed to come in and bat, you suddenly when you see a fall of wicket, that kind of sends a panic into the whole dressing room, because I'm not really sure, because I'm sure as a batter, when you've seen a good long with opening partnership, you're going to set your mind for the next day, come in fresh and start batting. And that's the kind of a mindset that would have been running in the middle order batters of India. But then suddenly when you see rush of wickets one after the other, when you see wickets falling, that kind of settles. It doesn't settle very well in the minds of our Indian batters. I'm sure it's all that. I think it all happened because of the quick wickets that had fallen had created the enormous panicking that had gone through the whole batting lineup, is what I think.
And I think, just to butt in again, but I think what England did really well through that period was they got through their overs very, very quickly. So that kind of meant India had to hurry up even between overs, that their bowlers were ready to bowl and our batters were like not quite ready to face. So I think that just kind of piled on the pressure, and of course the chat near the wicket. It all just added on, and it added to that very chaotic environment.
Yeah, I think, and I even felt like initially when the match was going in the favor of, India, when we had the good partnership from Shafali and Smriti, they were kind of, the field set that was set for them was completely different after Shafali's wicket had fallen. We had the catching fielders coming in, and they were trying to be more proactive and trying to, be more. They were very interactive when after Shafali's wicket had fallen. So I think that kind of, as a batter, when you have to, when it's end of day's play, and suddenly when you have too many people talking around you, and sledging, I'm sure there must have a lot of sledging would have happened. So when the sledging goes on, that kind of sense, that kind of unsettles as a batter when you've really sat out for really long, and suddenly when you put into the match situation, that kind of sends a very bad message for a batter, is what I think.
The last over also threw up an interesting sledge there. Amy Jones telling Deepti Sharma that the laces are tight enough and she needed to untie and tie them. But yeah, those were the part of the 20 for 5 that India lost towards the end of day's play. In England, I'm sure, will sleep better. The body ache would be quite less tomorrow. But not so much if you go back an hour before, because India had a solid start there, 167 without loss. That partnership between Shafali Verma and Smriti Mandhana. Let's take a look at what those numbers are in context. Let's put them in context. It is the highest for India in Test cricket, of course, for the opening wicket. And then it's also the fourth century stand for the opening wicket for India, and then the fourth 100 stand between for Test versus England, and of course the seventh highest partnership overall against England. So lots of milestones ticked in that sense. But Ananya, let's start with you. Shafali Verma, her first look at Shafali Verma, the batter in Test cricket, and there was no disappointment there.
Yeah, certainly not. I think like all young Indian batters, she has a very solid technique. I think that's one thing that you see in all academies when you go to, you'll see all these young kids learning to play like a defensive shot and then a cover drive. There are all these drills that you do, and only then you progress into the nets. So clearly she has a very, very solid technique. And it was actually great to see her play through the gears. It was wonderful to see her happy to just give the bowlers that first half hour. She just played out, saw through both Brunt and Shrubsole, and I think that was the most heartening thing. Even if she hadn't scored a half century today, I think people would have just been very, very happy with that kind of start, because she showed the temperament that I'm sure Trish will expand on this, but the kind of temperament that you require in Test cricket to play those long innings, to give maybe an hour and a half to the bowlers, and then step on the gas. So it was fantastic to see. And I think what we've seen again through her international career, she's a very, very good problem solver. So she figured out who she could survive against, who she was slightly uncomfortable against. She realized that Catherine Brunt was probably going to cause her the most issues. So she just tried to attack her. She thought her best form of survival was to attack her. She ticked her off. She got a couple of freebies, and it kind of worked in her favor. It worked in India's favor. The momentum kind of went with them from there. So it was great to see her make such a fantastic start. 96. I think we all would have loved her to get that 100, but look, in the context, 96 for a 17-year-old in her first game. She's never played first class cricket before. It's a huge achievement.
Yeah, the spotlight in fact on Shafali Verma was because of her explosive antics in the shortest format, Tirush. And to see her rein herself in at the start against the red ball, against the swinging ball, defense, it was really, really good to watch, wasn't it?
She displayed some beautiful batting, I must say. I mean, for a 17-year-old, and let alone being 17-year-old, I think she showed a lot of maturity in her batting. I mean, I was very happy about her shot selection as such. I mean, she knew who to go after, and then and even when it had come to kind of step back, and when the bowlers were trying to do well, she really kind of played some good defensive shots, trying to take it easy. And when she knows that her ball was in her zone, she had fully gone for it. So I really loved the way that she was able to play some sensible batting. And even right after that, I kind of felt that she kind of played in the mind of the English bowlers and the fielders as well. She was just trying to nudge few shots in the third man, and playing some beautiful cut shots. And even when she the ball was in her zone, I mean, she had this full plated lofted shots going. I mean, that kind of set the tone. Even when on the other side, when you kind of see a Smriti kind of displaying some elegant batting, some beautiful cover drives, and on the other side you kind of see Shafali Verma able to give you a combination of both defensive batting and attacking. That kind of set the tone beautifully for India, is what I felt. And in fact, I kind of liked the way that she was trying to be more proactive as a batter. Generally when you kind of see when you're inching near your 100, and when you're inching towards your 50, you try to tend to slow down a bit. I mean, that kind of shows how positive as a batter she wants to be. I mean, that's the kind of thing that she wants to set in international cricket. That's something very positive. And when in the longer run you see that's the kind of spirit that you want to see in a youngster. And I kind of completely enjoyed her batting, I must say.
Yeah, they generally say that you shouldn't rile up a fast bowler, because then you will kind of face a barrage of bouncers and pace bowling and whatnot. There she was not no, she was kind of almost got into the head of Catherine Brunt, not with words, but with her batting to an extent where Brunt seemed to be saying whatever she's doing is not working. Have another fielder at third man. But that the glide that she played through third man was kind of an impressive shot. And you mentioned elegance and Smriti Mandhana, but the elegance almost seemed to have shifted from Mandhana to Verma in this knock today.
Yeah, I felt that she was able to bring in a perfect combination. When she had known that the ball was her in a zone to kind of hit for a six, she went for it. And right after that, when she knew that the ball was meant to be defended, you saw a good compact defense from her. That is the kind of maturity that you want to see in a batter. This generally happens over years of playing first class cricket. And, to see a 17-year-old on a debut, to see that kind of a maturity in her batting, that is something phenomenal, I must say. And, on the other side, when you see Smriti kind of, initially, she was taking a lot of balls to, get going. But on the other side, you see Shafali Verma, trying to go after the bowlers. That was something kind of, something you don't really see very common in Test cricket. Test cricket is more of, you see a lot of leaving the balls and, getting defensive and trying to play in the mind of the bowlers. This was something very different. And, that's the kind of trend I think it's starting up in women's cricket. So I thoroughly enjoyed the batting.
Yeah, let's kind of shift focus to Smriti Mandhana. Ananya, she's someone who we have seen who likes to get going quickly. But looking at the way Shafali was batting, I think she was happy. And in fact, we are seeing the effects across formats now in the T20s and now in Test that she has almost relaxed at batting because she sees Shafali do the scoring and keeping the scoreboard ticking. So she looked elegant, of course, but she also seemed to be calmer and getting those strokes right, didn't she?
Well, I think, I think Smriti enjoys the longer format because she enjoys batting. So, she kind of doesn't have to, I suppose, go for or take calculated risks in this kind of format. She can just bat time, and as long as she's there, she's going to find runs. She is someone who's very, very busy. She may not be, like Shafali Verma, constantly finding the boundary, but she's always going to find runs. She's always going to go at a fair clip. I mean, even today, I think she went at a strike rate of 50, which is pretty good in Test cricket. So and on that surface where there was absolutely like no pace at all. So yeah, I think she has relaxed a little bit. She's allowed Shafali to kind of go gung ho at the start, and she's holding one end up. But that doesn't mean that she's not been putting the bad balls away. Even today we saw that every time England kind of pitched it short, she was there either cutting, pulling, and they kind of fed her very, very short deliveries. They fed her strength, that pull shot. I think they must have conceded at least 30, 40, maybe close to 50 runs on that leg side, square leg. So yeah, I don't think England bowled very well to her. But again, like you said, she's relaxed a little bit, but she's also made sure that she's maintained a bit of a tempo, that she's not starving Shafali of the strike.
The timing that Smriti was kind of exuding through her strokes were also something that was kind of noticeable, wasn't it? Because for almost a generation of people who grew up talking about some male cricketers having a spring in their bat, this almost seemed as if Smriti Mandhana had a spring in her bat, especially looking at those flicks of Sophia bowling. So your thoughts on your fellow left-hander, Smriti Mandhana?
Smriti has always been a very, I've loved Smriti's batting. I've always enjoyed batting with her, and I've seen her, right from the moment that she made the debut for the country, I've seen her grow as a batter. And it feels like, whenever she bats, it doesn't feel like, she's kind of, it just feels like she's just easing it out for whoever is accompanying her as a batter. That is something you see that comes very natural to her. Initially, especially her cover drives, that is something very beautiful to watch. Today when you had seen her batting, you don't really, generally when you see in Test cricket, you find that, the bowlers are kind of troubling the batters is what you expect to see. But when Smriti was batting, it felt like it was a complete flat batting track. It just felt like she was able to, she was waiting for the ball to come to her, and she was timing it so very well. And she was getting as straight as possible. When the balls were pitched on the stump, she was able to get them in the mid-off, and slightly pitched on the fourth stump. She allowed it really well, and she was able to get those shots between the point and the cover region for a boundary, or even if the bowlers had pitched it slightly on the shorter good length area, she was able to very well, shift her weight and, get those shots going even off the back foot. So that kind of, set the, as a bowler, in test cricket, when you see that kind of a formidability as a batter, the solidity that she's able to bring will definitely play in the minds of the bowlers. You don't really know what you're supposed to do. You pitch it up, she's so very well. She's executing her front foot shots very well. You pitch it slightly short, she's whacking it for a pull, or giving a beautiful punch off the back foot. So that is the kind of uh, 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 exhibition of batting that the team would expect, and I think that's the kind of the batting that Smriti has displayed. I mean, over the years, she's evolved beautifully as a batter. Like initially, I have seen her play, and now the kind of batter that she's evolved over the past couple of years, that is something. It's a great positive for Indian cricket as such.
78 for Smriti, 96 for Shafali, and life seemed good at that point for India because they were really looking comfortable in the middle. But the start for the day's play wasn't a favorable one. Again, let's look at that England batting card, because the overnight batters, they were, remember, 269 for 6, 4 wickets to go. The range predicted by Ananya and Tirush Kamini yesterday came to 300 to 325. But England got to 396 for 9, and there's the number. 74 not out from Sophia Dunkley, her maiden test half century. She is also a debutant, remember. Ananya, there was a solid start for Sophia Dunkley's test career, especially with the bat. The temperament that she showed at the start, especially after losing Brunt early, it was good to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great to see her just display such calm. And I'm actually not very surprised by this, because we saw her in 2018. She made her international debut in that T20 World Cup, and in her first innings played a fantastic knock against the West Indies. They came to India, I think it was in 2018, 2019. Her first innings in India, England were under pressure. She again scored a quick fire 29 or 32, something like that. But she looked very, very calm at the crease, and I think she deals with spin very well. She dealt with spin well against the West Indies, against India, and again today on her test debut. And I think that's where, as well as she played, I just think India played into her hands by bowling so much spin to her. She was fantastic against spin, and I think she manipulated the field beautifully with her cuts, with her sweeps, her back foot play, just nudging it, behind square, getting off strike. I thought she was fantastic through her innings, but I think India just kind of played into her hands, made it slightly easier for her. But no credit taken away from her. I thought she was fantastic.
Tirush, were you surprised with India's tactics in that first hour of day 2? Because we saw them open with Shikha and Julan, but quickly those two were taken off and the spinners were brought on, which, as Ananya said, almost played into the hands of the English batters. Were you surprised by the tactics, and what different could India have done at that point?
I mean, no doubt. I mean, I'm taking no credit from Sophia. I mean, she definitely displayed a good batting. I mean, she's temperamentally very good. But what I was a little more surprised is, I mean, initially, I felt that, the catch of Deepti Sharma, I mean, the return catch of her Deepti Sharma's bowling, probably it would have taken, it would have changed the whole course of the game. And I felt even today we see a lot of catches being dropped. I mean, that kind of, we could have, curbed England in a much lesser total is what I felt. And I must say that, like rightly Ananya mentioned, we could have probably played in with a little more pacers initially. Like we could have gotten, bowled a little more of agility, or probably we could have bowled a little more of Shikha to see how she was, trying to go at it, because she was really playing very well the spinners. I mean, especially when you had bowlers, bowling into her, she was nudging it to the square leg, or, she was getting those one-odd sweep shot going. And, the scoreboard kept on ticking. And when you had someone very solid batting on the other end, it kind of helped the other tailenders who are coming in, the confidence to go for the shots. Like even that solidity that she was able to provide kind of also helped Anya Shrubsole to go for her shots. It was more like, she was nudging in and giving her the single. If there's a batter on the other end, and you can just freely go for your shots. That partnership kind of could have curbed in case if you were able to take that catches that had come our way. So probably, I think that is where we are altered a bit, is what I felt.
Fielding is one of India's Achilles heel. At least so far, we've seen that, because yesterday the catches probably didn't cost us as much as they did today. Deepti Sharma's drop, especially. And then what could be the reasons you think? Is it again a lack of enough cricket, or you see some other reasons for India's lack of good fielding?
I don't know. It probably could be a combination of things. I mean, with the cotton bowl of Sophia Dunkley, I think it just got to Deepti Sharma a lot slower than she thought it was coming. You could see her kind of grabbing at the ball, and so her hands were closed before it came. And also, I don't think she realized that it was a catch. Her reaction didn't seem like she thought it was a catch, but she was also probably trying to play it down because she didn't want people shouting at her. But yeah, I think with that, the case was that it came to her much slower than she expected it to. And I think that's what's been happening a lot. Whether it's the batters trying to go at the ball's been coming slower to them off the track. So the ball's reaching the fielder slightly slower than they think. So I think it's just the lack of time, of game time. It's one thing to do a lot of fielding practice, but then, in a game, it's very, very different. So, hopefully as the series progresses or as the tour progresses, they just keep getting better.
Yeah, let's look at that India's bowling card once again. 4 wickets for 131 runs on test debut for Sneha Rana. Remember, there's possibly one more innings to come, so she can probably have another go at that test fifer. But Anya Shrubsole, she played a Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy game in this very surface, in this venue, in fact, last week. And it seemed as if she's not stopped batting ever since. 47 of 33. That was a breezy knock that probably made the difference between a draw and a safer England total. You think, Ananya?
Yeah, I think she just came out there and kind of found the middle of the bat, especially after tea from the start. So, I mean, like you said, she batted in that Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy game. She scored some runs there. I think she got Western Storm over the line, really held her nerve in a crunch game. Again, she's probably going to want to pack up the surface and take it wherever she goes and say, hey, send me up the order. I'm a really good batter. But, she's done her batting credentials no harm, batted superbly, and really gave England some impetus, got them closer to that 400. And they'll be quite happy with where the game is poised now.
Indeed, she'd like to take this surface for batting. Let's make that clear, because she's not got any success with the ball yet. But 2 days of this test match done, the one-off test between England and India at Bristol. Remember, India returning to the format after 7 years. All that's gone now, because batting first, England posted 396 for 6. India are 187 for 5 with 2 days play left and a bit of rain forecast as well. So let's look ahead to day 3 and pass on our virtual predictions hat. Kirush, once again, it comes to you first. Where do you see India headed tomorrow morning? 187 for 5 right now.
I feel we have Harman and Deepti batting, and definitely, like I had mentioned earlier, I don't see we have a tail-ender as such in our batting lineup. Like, everybody can bat. We have Anya to come in for batting, then we have Pooja to come in for batting, and definitely we have Sneha Rana, who's got a lot of runs in the domestic, who's yet to come into bat. I mean, obviously she's had a good form with the ball, so I think she'll be able to carry that confidence into her batting as well. So I feel that tomorrow's partnership between Harman and Deepti will prove to be very important for India, because I mean, a good partnership like how Sophia and she was able to stay there, get the partnership going for England. If that is the kind of partnership we will be able to have it tomorrow, I definitely see India being placed in a very good place tomorrow. I mean, that partnership will remain very crucial for India, Deepti's and Harman's partnership. And I have a feeling that if you're able to post a really good total on the board. And having England to bat again, I think the wicket is doing a lot. I mean, getting a lot more slower, and it's providing a lot more turn for the spinners. Considering we have two spinners in our lineup, and England do not have. I mean, they're predominantly dependent on the fast bowlers. So I think we definitely do have a chance by posting a very good total tomorrow.
2 days so far, we've seen that batting's been relatively or easier in the morning session as well as the afternoon session. Ananya, Harmanpreet Kaur and Deepti Sharma, and that long, not tail to follow. What's your take on where the match headed tomorrow?
Well, I actually think Deepti Sharma is going to be a key player for us tomorrow, because I mean, what we've seen in this lineup is, yes, they're all very, very good batters. They're all capable batters, but they are all batters who like the ball coming onto the bat. I think Deepti is the only one who kind of, she takes her time generally, so she's probably going to give herself more time to settle in, whereas the others really throw their hands at the ball a little bit. So I think if Harmanpreet Kaur, yes, she has a lot of experience. So if she's able to maybe see off the first 20, 25 deliveries of the morning tomorrow, I think she'll be fine. But I think Deepti will hold the key for India to kind of first, reduce the deficit as much as possible, force England to bat again, because they don't want England to be able to force a result, forcing India to follow on. They don't want that. I think Deepti will need to maybe reduce that 209 at least by 109, just to play time. Because honestly, if I feel like if India force England to bat again, it's going to be very, very difficult to get a result in this game.
Key bowlers for England, you think, in that first hour tomorrow?
Ooh, it's a difficult one. The way Heather Knight bowled today, I would have said Heather Knight, but I think Sophia is going to be key. She didn't quite find her rhythm today, but I think her and Kate Cross, I thought Kate Cross was actually the pick of the English bowlers today. She didn't quite get the rewards that she deserved. Yes, got Shafali Verma out, but I think she deserved a couple more wickets. So I think Kate Cross, maybe even Natalie Siver with her cutters. Kate Cross, Natalie Siver, and Sophia Eccleston.
Right, there you go. 187 for 5, 209 runs behind. They need another 59 to avoid that follow-on. 150 is the mark in women's test cricket. So that's the mark. And again, tomorrow ahead of the day's play, you'll have the Hindi show on the Outside View Live. And just keep an eye out for that, because Yash Lahoti was speaking about Heather Knight having to bowl more like Joe Root, the men's England captain, did in Chennai, which we kind of saw. Heather Knight having a good effect, 6 overs, 5 maidens, 1 for 2. So these are some of the insights you might pick from there. So do join us for that show tomorrow, half an hour before the play starts, and also at night after the day's play on the Outside View Live. Thank you for joining today. Thanks, Ananya. Thanks, Tirush. See you tomorrow.